All right, hello, and welcome to this Hurricane Dorian update. It is about 7:44 p.m. We're gonna first look at what it looks like on the satellite and show you that this hurricane is just sitting pretty much over Grand Bahama Island. You could see, and they're not even getting into the eye, not even getting relief from the eye. You can see the eye is just it's just wobbling in place like a top. It's really strange, and we've been seeing this more and more with hurricanes just stall out or move very slowly, which is terrible because they cause a lot of damage, and the longer that they sit there, the more damage they cause. And this is all due to the climate crisis, the climate change, because the jet streams, the steering currents, are not there, and there's no wind to move this thing, and that's why it's such a bad hurricane. Also, because there's no shear. So you can see this is what Dorian looks like right now, and it is a pretty scary looking storm, as you can see. So let's go to the current storm information. Let's go to the National Hurricane Center and get the latest on Hurricane Dorian right now. So here is Hurricane Dorian, and we're going to click on that, and you will see that we'll go right to our right to the public advisory. So we will read the public advisory. As of 5 p.m., the eye of Hurricane Dorian was located near latitude 26.8 north, longitude 78.4 west. Dorian has become nearly stationary this afternoon. A slow westward to northwestward motion is expected to resume overnight and continue into early Tuesday. A turn toward the northwest is forecast by late Tuesday, with a northeastward motion forecast to begin Wednesday night. On this track, the core of extremely dangerous Hurricane Dorian will continue to pound the Grand Bahama Island into Tuesday morning. The hurricane will then move dangerously close to the Florida East Coast late Tuesday through Wednesday evening, and then move dangerously close to Georgia and the South Carolina coast on Wednesday night and Thursday. So the Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunter aircraft has found that the maximum sustained winds are near 145 miles an hour. So it's weakened a little more slowly, and again, it's sitting in place. And as it sits in place, it's drawing the heat energy from the water. But as it sits in place, the heat energy, the water's dropping, the temperature is dropping in the water, and that helps to slowly weaken it. And maybe because it's sitting close to land, but it's a very slow process. It's barely weakening. It's still a Category 4 hurricane, and even though gradual weekend is forecast. So hurricane force winds extend outward up to 45 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend outward up to now 150 miles. So the storm, as it weakens, it gets larger. Sustained wind of 55 miles an hour with a gust up to 69 was recently reported at a NOAA coastal marine observing site at the settlement point on the west end of Grand Bahama Island. A wind gust of 43 miles an hour was also reported at the Opa-locka Airport near Miami this afternoon. The latest minimum central pressure recorded by an Aircraft Reserve Hurricane Hunter aircraft is 940 millibars. So let's now go to the cone forecast here, and you will see that hurricane warnings are now in effect for almost the entire Florida East Coast north of Miami, and hurricane watches are now extending into South Carolina. And this storm has a chance, like I said, impact all these areas here along the East Coast, up to even Virginia. And there are evacuations that are now taking place in many of these coastal areas, because even if the storm is not a direct hit, there's going to be widespread coastal flooding as of this. We're already seeing these crazy amounts of storm surge in the Bahamas. We're talking 20, 30 feet, really absolutely crazy amounts of storm surge that we're seeing. So let's now, before I do that, let me look at the spaghetti models. So we're going to look at the spaghetti models here, which are sort of starting to converge on a forecast here that keeps it offshore Florida. There's only one that really takes it close to the shore now. Most of them keep it offshore Florida, but remember, the core doesn't even have to come on shore to cause flooding and damage. And it's going to get very close to the Outer Banks, and then it pretty much tracks out to sea. And this track keeps the worst of it offshore, except for parts of North Carolina, which could see hurricane conditions as a result of this storm. Again, this is a tricky storm to forecast. It's just sitting there right now. But we don't know what the next move is going to be, and then the models have trouble with that too. So that's the other thing. So let's now look at the models and see where this thing is going to go. So here is the GFS, and you will see here it tracks it really close to Florida, then makes it hit it brings it almost ashore in North Carolina right there, and then back out to sea and then into Nova Scotia, which still, look at how strong that thing is. Nova Scotia will get pounded by it, and so we're gonna get a little closer now, and we're gonna go and look at the winds. We look at the wind. The wind speeds on this. So I might want to use windy.com, but I'll look at the models just to show you that it keeps the worst winds just offshore Florida, but then they come onshore in the Carolinas, and then out and then into Nova Scotia too. So this is the GFS. I'd rather look at windy. Well, we'll look at the. Let me go back to the precip moisture here. I'll move this back to the NAM 12 kilometer now. We'll look at the NAM 12 kilometer and see what that shows. So here is the NAM 12 kilometer, and the site's starting to slow down a little bit now. It was working a little while ago earlier. Now it's starting to slow down a little more. Probably just because it's Labor Day and a lot of people are traveling. So you can see it kind of just barely moves it. Here we are into, this is Tuesday night, and it finally starts moving Wednesday morning, and then it moves. And the NAM just keeps it just offshore. So if on this track, the worst of it may stay just offshore, but there's going to be tremendous beach erosion and coastal flooding. It doesn't have to come onshore to flood those barrier islands. It could flood them easily without even doing that because of the storm surge. So let's look at the ICON model. So we're looking at the ICON model, and you can see similar track. They all seem to agree. The Carolinas may be getting the worst of this for now, but again, it just bears watching. This storm is going to have some impact on almost the entire east coast of the United States into Canada, which is definitely something. There'll be some impact. Everybody is going to feel some impact from this major hurricane. So let me go to windy.com so we can look at the actual wind speeds here to show you. So here is windy.com. This is the euro, and you can see here that you can see these strong winds, these sustained winds at or above 100 miles an hour. This area in white, all right, and you can see they're already getting some wind along the Florida coast. Remember, this is a large storm, and it's getting larger in area as it weakens. So this is for Monday at 8 p.m. This is today at 8 p.m. Let's go tomorrow at 3 p.m. And the euro takes it closer and closer up to Palm Bay, Cocoa, Daytona Beach, Port St. Lucie. These areas could be experiencing hurricane conditions along the beach. 4 a.m. Wednesday, here it is. We're just offshore Florida. The core staying offshore, but again, the core, because the core is over water, it's not going to weaken very rapidly at all. It'll weaken a little bit, but not very much. Here is 6 p.m. on Wednesday. Here it is out over the ocean again, starting to affect Savannah. And again, all these coastal areas are going to get flooded. There's going to be major flooding in all these coastal areas. Charleston, this area here, Charleston, Myrtle Beach. This is when the core starts getting closer, all right? And we go into 5 p.m. here. I should really just put on wind gusts so you can see, but we'll look at the sustained, and then we'll go to wind gusts. Here's 5 p.m. Thursday off the Carolinas. And now it's starting to move fast, starting to get accelerated and picked up. And here you go. Here's some of the strong winds coming in off the eye wall could hit the Outer Banks, and this part of North Carolina kind of sticks out here. 9 p.m. Friday. Here it is, south of Long Island, or south of, well, off the Delmarva. All right. Let's go to Saturday, 2 p.m. And now it's out. So it starts moving fast and racing up toward Nova Scotia once it gets picked up into the jet stream. But we're going to have to watch this. I think there's, yeah, right here. This is where it gets close to Long Island. So the east end of Long Island could still see some tropical storm force winds. Like I said, I don't put anything past this storm. So let's go back, and now we're going to look at the wind gusts to show you. We're going to go to wind gusts and show you the wind gusts. So this area in white where we're well over 100 here. All right. Here's Tuesday at 6 p.m. Just to keep an eye, you see that the wind gusts are already up to 70. You're going to get hurricane force wind gusts, I think, along the Florida coast, which is why the hurricane warning's in effect. But the worst of the winds, that core stays offshore. This is the Euro. It keeps the core offshore. As you see right there, the core stays offshore. But then look what happens when it gets to North Carolina. The core starts coming onshore, and you get, it just kind of disappeared. All right, I moved it ahead too fast. Okay, so here it is over north. Thursday night. The core is really close to North Carolina. So and again, this thing stays over the water, so it's going to keep its fuel source all the way up. Here's the it is giving us here on Saturday morning wind gusts up to 45 miles an hour, perhaps. So we may still see some. Look at this. You still have white on the map, even into Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia is going to wind up getting hit very hard by this. They could have hurricane conditions in Nova Scotia from this thing. And then it finally starts losing its strength as it finally moves into up north into well north into Canada. So that's the Euro. Let's now look at the NAM model, which obviously isn't going to go as far out. We can look at let's look at tomorrow morning here. So it's starting to pull north of the Grand Bahama Islands. There's the core again. I'm just going to keep it on this one so you can see that the core, again, stays offshore. But look at how close that core is to the Florida coasts. So that's a major concern right there. That's as far out as the NAM goes. Then we have the GFS, which, yeah, I already see this what I mean with the GFS. It's weakening it way too quickly. I'm not even going to use that, all right? So GFS is maybe better with the track, but the intensity is off, which is why I don't like using it. I like using the Euro. So let's look at the waves, because this is the other thing that we have to worry about is the wave impacts here. So here we are, 4 p.m. tomorrow, and you can see we have waves over 30 feet. That's the area that's white, so 20, 30 feet. Here we go at Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. You can see these waves. We have waves along the Florida coast. Could be close to 20 feet. Right? You're going to have coastal flooding. This thing doesn't have to come on shore to get the coastal flooding. Here we are in Charleston, Myrtle Beach. Look at this. This is 11 a.m. Thursday. Look at these waves here that you're getting. Look at these waves. You have waves that are going to be up near 10 to 20 feet. Let's go Thursday, 8 p.m. Still dealing with these high. Look at these. This is going to be a significant. We could see all the barrier islands, the Outer Banks, being inundated completely by this thing. It doesn't even have to come on shore for that to happen. All right, and then we start moving north, and you start seeing the wave effect for our area. So this is for Saturday morning, 5 a.m. You can see we're going to be having some waves on Long Island. I see some purples here. So purples, it's like 7, 8 feet. Go offshore, you're already dealing with 20-foot waves. So the potential for beach erosion and coastal flooding is a very high likelihood we're going to see effects from that. And again, we still have these waves. Look at these big waves out over 30 feet in the middle of the ocean. So this is going to have to be watched. Like I said before, Hurricane Dorian will be. We're going to see effects from this. The whole East Coast is going to see effects from this. So that does conclude this update on Hurricane Dorian. I want to thank you for watching, and take care. And please, stay tuned to your National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center for the latest on this monster hurricane.